awesome afternoon, magnificent morning, and fantastic evening. This is Carla from MindPlore with Carla and Friends. And if you want to talk about mistakes, I've been making them all morning, and I am very sorry for every mistake I've made, but I am learning and becoming stronger because of it. Having said that, the topic today is making mistakes, or making mistakes. You don't get it perfectly for me. And I am very honored to have Shafaat Hashmi, who is a marketing expert. And actually, I think Mirza is also, but he works in real estate. And Asma will be joining us in a few moments. We're having all kinds of technical difficulties. Jeanne, I'm going to ask you to go forward. I'm just going to let Asma know yes. And let's get the show on the road, and let me get the YouTube link
Okay.
so it can be shared out.
I'm always amazed at how when we have a conversation set up in a theme, how we experience that theme prior to the conversation. Today we're talking about the power of mistakes. Not that they're bad, but the power of how mistakes help us grow. And I want to start with a well-known personal development guru, Tony Robbins, when he says, no matter how many mistakes you make or how slow you progress, you're still way ahead of everyone who isn't trying. That's really important. Mistakes help us to grow. And the author John Maxwell actually says that if you want to grow, you need to get over any fear you have of making mistakes. You know, there's a meme out there about the broken heart. It has more space for love, and it's the same with learning and growing. When we make those mistakes, we actually learn from it. The Canadian author Robin Sharma writes, "There's no mistake in life, only lessons. There is no such thing as a negative experience, only opportunities to grow, to learn, and to advance along the road of self-mastery. From struggle comes strength. Even pain can be a wonderful teacher." And finally, and this one I thought was really a good definition. If you make a mistake and do not correct it, this is called a mistake. Definition. And that's from Confucius. I love that. If you make a mistake, but you do nothing about it, that's what the mistake is. And you know, he was such an ancient philosopher, but his stuff is still really good. Yeah, Carla?
There seems to be some noise in the background. I don't know who it is, but can you please check?
Well, I've been mute. I would suggest like all of us go mute, only the person who's speaking, so that might help.
Okay. Well, I would like the noise to be removed because someone does have something.
I think it's gone now.
Okay. Well,
okay, Shafaat, can you open up, please? Go on.
So with that, both Mirza and Shafaat, you're kind of new to me, so I'm not sure who to throw it to next. But the idea of understanding that mistakes are part of life and they give us the opportunity to grow. How does that work for you? Let's throw it to Mirza.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And anything that you do for the very first time in your life, you're gonna suck at it, right? You and I, we both rode a bicycle when we were young, right? We fell so many times, right? And that's what mistake is. That's what failure is. But what is the definition of failure? Failure is like first attempt to learn, right? Your end is effort never denies, right? And it's all about overcoming and becoming, because once you do something for the first time, there's a scientific research that we all create something called structural plasticity in our brain, right? But repetition is the mother of learning. In the beginning, we all are unconsciously incompetent. But the more we do that, we start creating the neural pathways and turn that structural plasticity into neuroplasticity, right? And you fail so many times to the point you get good at that craft. And that's why how human thing works. You apply this into any skills and capabilities and expertise and potential and competencies. From unconsciously incompetent, you overcome and become, and you get to the level of unconscious competency. The goal is to convert your unconscious conscious. Just like Matrix, once you have this software and you're on autopilot, it becomes your second nature. So that's why, you know what, repetition is the mother of learning. You don't have to give up, and mistakes are good for you. Fail means for a forward-thinking visionary entrepreneur is first attempt in learning. There's no end, because end means effort never dies, you know, and you have to go through so much pain and grind. Pain means like pay attention in now, overcome and become, just like cocoon to butterfly. So those were my few humble cents, and I will look forward to listen to industry icon, Brother Shafaat is here.
That's true. Hang on. Speaking of technology problems, I just had one.
Can we please make sure that if you're watching on Facebook, you mute your Facebook? That is the issue, and I know who it is, but please just mute it, and we'll be okay. Because that's what I'm hearing in the background.
Yeah. So Shafaat, the power of mistake, how does that, how do you see the power of mistakes?
You know, mistakes to me, essentially, what is a mistake? You assess success or failure based on some set of parameters or some kind of definition of success or objectives or whatever you wish to achieve. So you say, I want to achieve this goal and this objective, and then you're unable to achieve it, you say, I failed. Or then you look back and you say, okay, I failed because, and then you say, because I did 1, 2, 3, 4, and had I done it at the right time, you know, I would have achieved it. It could be macro environmental factors, micro environmental factors, or personal factors, essentially 3 simple things. To me, there are no mistakes. As far as the result of that mistake is only affecting you. But if your actions have an impact, especially a bad impact on others people's lives, yes, then it's a mistake. And in order to consider it as a mistake, one needs to either apologize, fix it, give back, contribute, or do multiple things. So we need to understand that any decision that we take, which might have an impact on other people's lives, be it the way we speak, be it the way we act, be it the way we meet, or be it any business decisions, personal decisions, or other decisions. I mean, falling in love, for example, or getting married, and might have an impact on a lot of people. So we need to understand that whatever decisions that you're taking it with proper information, you're taking smart decisions. And once you've taken a good decision based on correct information, maximum data, you will realize that the probability of, misshooting the target and not seeing the target will actually reduce. So essentially what humans are trying to achieve is perfection and excellence. And that essentially means that there are no mistakes. But as Mirza has very rightly pointed out, that yes, you try, you make a mistake and you learn. And I think mistakes are a great way to learn. And yes, we'll definitely take a deeper dive into the topic. But for me, I think there are no mistakes, because if you assess a mistake outside of the parameters, it will not be a mistake.
Well, actually, one of the things that brings to mind is if you're trying to get, if you're working to get something done and you have a goal in mind, but something happens and takes you off the goal, that's oftentimes looked at as a mistake. But as Thomas Edison, the great inventor, would say, you know, when people accused him of trying to make the modern light bulb, he had, you know, 1,000 failures. And his answer was, no, I found 1,000 ways that it didn't work. You know, so every time that there was a quote unquote mistake, he learned what not to do, which led him to be more creative and come up with what it was to do. I mean, I imagine Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in their garage when they were, you know, little spits of who they are today, looking at the printed circuit boards that they were plugging in and going, yeah, it doesn't work the way Commodore has it working. So I wonder what we could do. You know, the next thing you know, we have the Apple computer, which pretty much revolutionized computers in the home. We didn't know that that's what we wanted, but you know, at that point in time, and I'm going back to the 70s, we didn't know we all wanted electronic calculators that could do scientific calculations in, you know, much faster than looking up in our calculus book. You know, we didn't know we needed to have digital watches on our wrist, you know, and then, you know, fast forward to the 90s, we didn't know that we wanted to carry a computer in our pocket, you know, and I love the story that in the mid 90s, there was a resurgence of need for people who knew how to do cellular technology, because that was considered old technology at one point. And, you know, all the older people who were getting ready to retire were called back in because what they needed engineers who understood that technology, because we had an explosion called cell phones. And now what we hold in our pocket is much more powerful than any computer was when I first started covering technology way back in the dark ages of the last century. Were those mistakes? Not really. But I'm closer to home. I'm watching my new granddaughter. She's 6 months old. And you know, yesterday I had dinner with my son and his family, and she gets put down on the floor. And I'll tell you, that little girl who could barely turn herself over just last month was crawling around the floor like a little whirling dervish, to be honest with you. She saw something, she went for it, and she got it. She's been working at learning to crawl for a month. And just watching that reminds me that everything we do, we have to learn first. We have to learn how to breathe, even as adults. I can probably tell you guys, both of you, that you're not breathing properly at some point, because we breathe in muscle memory, how we learned when we were infants. We breathe up here. And when I'm talking to people about relaxing and grounding themselves when they get ready to go up on stage or go into an interview, you know, I'm talking about deep breathing, yogic breathing, you know, getting all the way down, you know, breathing all the way down to your toes is one of the descriptions I have to give to some people so that they know to bring in their whole body into the breath. Well, we're adults. Why am I talking about teaching somebody how to breathe? You know, well, for me, it's a tool, and it helps us calm the crazy brain down so that when we go to do what it is we're trying to do, we can see clearly, we can hear clearly, we can express ourselves clearly. So is it a mistake to breathe up here? Not on your life, because if you're not breathing up here, you're not going to live. So I just use that as an example. Mirza, you're nodding.
I totally resonate with what you're saying. I was having a conversation with young entrepreneurs that I coach, and I was telling them if you own your morning routine, you pretty much own your day. And the way you spend your day is the way you spend your life, right? So it's all has to do with you being ruthlessly committed and focused to the rituals that you're doing. And you are unstoppable when it comes to any task and anything that you do over and over. Mistakes, if you want to be successful in any craft, you need to double the rate of failure, right? And then all those things it requires certain level of grit and stamina and growth and abundance mindset, not the fixed and scarcity mindset. You have to constantly march forward. We all have fears, and we all have different ways, like you were saying, different mechanism to cope up with that fear. But fear is like face everything and rise above the problem. Goes back to what you're saying, and my earlier statement, and what brother Shafaat brought on the table. It's just like our grit and stamina and drive to face and push through the obstacles and overcome and become and face those mistakes. Like Edison, the symbol of innovation. I failed 10,000 times. I, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 ways of not building a bulb, right? To the point he found the thing. And this is something that our thoughts go viral and they go spiral, they compound. So your effort also compounds. And Einstein says so beautifully that compound interest is the eighth wonder. It's not even in the monetary aspect where there is interest, but your skills and capabilities and expertise and potential with the growth mindset and constantly putting the work and effort day in and day out, that also compounds. So with so many mistakes and overcoming and becoming to the point, you hit the target. And that's how major innovation in the world of computers and technology happens, because behind this technology, there's a human psychology. There's a grit and stamina, the perseverance, and the drive and passion. So whatever mind can visualize, it can materialize. Whatever mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, like Wright brothers. So unseen controls the scene. So metaphysical converts stuff into physical. This esoteric kind of brings stuff into exoteric by taking massive actions to get to the results. So thank you. I can't agree with you more. So beautiful.
And Shafaat?
Yeah, I think this is profound what Mirza has said. And my mind was just stuck on something that you said, Jeanne, and that was that we have got a powerful piece of technology in our pockets, one of the most powerful things. But what I would just piggyback on is technology is not the most powerful thing that we hold or achieve. It is our heart, which is the most powerful thing that we have, because one person can use the same technology for evil things, and one person can use the same technology for good things. Now, when we talk of mistakes, what we really need to understand is that you can make a million mistakes, but if all those millions are new mistakes, it's good. But if you're repeating the same mistake, that is a mistake which has to be unforgiven. So you can't repeat. The problem a lot of people have is we talk about failing 100 times and maybe making it successful the 101st time. But it doesn't happen if you're repeating the same mistake. So for the mistakes become your powerful tool if and only if you try out a new mistake. If you try out that what would happen and experiment with yourself. But the mistake that you are pushing your boundaries, I mean, the grit, the perseverance, and some great keywords that Brother Mirza has added. We need to understand that it's not just pushing, pushing, and pushing. I mean, if I go and bang my head against the wall without thinking, I'm going to surely break my head, not the wall, right? So intelligence is important. The boundaries that we need to push, the heart that we need to align actually is all related to the connection of the mind and the heart, and that is emotional intelligence and journaling intelligence. If you're making intelligent mistakes or mistakes which are well thought through, but they didn't work, it will reveal a new factor which has affected your success or failure. So the idea is that, to me, mistakes are more like research work, because every time you do a mistake, you explore something new and a new X factor, which you realize, oh my God, I never accounted for this thing, and this just happened. For example, 3 years ago, I mean, we're into investments and we're into marketing and stuff, and we make business decisions day in, day out, right? If we park money in a startup, which we have just missed out just because we didn't consider the entrepreneur properly, or we didn't consider the business idea properly, money is going to go in thin air, right? And earning that money is going to take us a toll. So yes, again, as I said, if there's somebody out there who's hurting people, and is doing evil, it's not a mistake. And should not be considered even as a power of mistakes. It's wrong. As far as I do a mistake which only affects me and it's a learning for me, is great. But if I go out and take out a vaccine and start telling the whole world, hey, this is the new COVID vaccine, oh my God, half of the population is dead. But sorry, I made a mistake. That's not a mistake. That is a murder. So we need to realize these things and understand that whatever decisions we take, if they're new, try to experiment on yourself before you experiment on masses, and then it will become your superpower. But if you experiment on others first and forget about yourself, it's going to come back and haunt you in ways you cannot even imagine.
Carla?
I have a question, Shafaat, because I'm one who makes many mistakes. I made a mistake right before we went on air, and I apologize. Sometimes we blurt out without thinking something needs to be done. The heart isn't in putting someone down, it's just in getting something done and a focus. That is a mistake. I agree that when you make a decision and you made a decision and you did it and it didn't work the first time, and then you go ahead and you do the same thing again, that is a mistake. But we learn from our mistakes, and sometimes they happen more than once. So are you saying a person isn't making a mistake when they repeat something, not necessarily intentionally, but hey, I want to see if this works. I'm going to tweak it a little, try it, and it's still a mistake. And someone has their Facebook page open, it needs to be muted, or even YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube at the same time, just please mute it.
So it's an excellent question, Carla. I love MindPlore because of the way you plore our and poke our minds. And you're so awesome. Always remember that.
Thank you.
Sometimes when we're not thinking and we do something and we have to apologize for it, and then we just again do not think and do it again. Basically, it's a pattern. And we need to break our patterns. We need to keep collecting what I say. I mean, in the business, we do customer service, right? And customer service helps us improve because we listen to what customers would not have otherwise told us on our face. So somebody gets into a restaurant, they might have a good or bad experience, but they're going to pay, they're going to just walk out. I would never get to know, because nobody's just going to come up to the manager and say, oh, by the way, improve this, improve that, do this, and this could have been better. Nobody has the time to do that. But the moment I slide in a customer survey, they're going to say, oh, yeah, well, this could be improved. I think the lighting was good or bad. Well, the food could be a little better, so on. So the service could be better. So it's always good that once you meet and greet people, try to analyze after the mistake that, is it something that a lot of people are telling me? And if so, there is a problem somewhere deep down, and it's becoming a pattern. So just like, as a lot of people know, I smoke, right? And every time I light up a cigarette and I smoke, it's a mistake. No? But I light it up anyways. And I light it up again, and I light it up again. Right? So if I say, is this the power of mistakes? No. It can become a power when I realize that I do not have to smoke. And when I quit, the moment I quit this pattern, this is exactly when my mistakes of smoking for the last 20 years is going to become my superpower.
Okay, Shafaat, you know that I've spoken to you about smoking.
Oh, yes,
on
absolutely.
more than one occasion. It's still, you're making that decision out of habit, one habit, and two, it's in some way soothing to you. I I get that. However, and I'll correct you, if you come on my show and you're smoking, you know I'm going to tell you. But,
I'm not smoking.
no, I know that. That's not the point I'm making. But the point is, I know that it's a mistake that you're taking out of needing to soothe yourself, and you haven't replaced it with something else. And until you make that replacement, it's still a mistake. It's something you have decided to do on your own, not with anyone agreeing. You have made that decision because you need to soothe yourself, and you're thinking, okay, I need a cigarette now. That's, I'm going to say that's fine, but it really isn't fine, but it is in a way, because you're using that to help yourself. And maybe it'll keep you from yelling at me at times. I don't know.
You see, Carla, this is exactly where I was coming from. So my cigarette, every cigarette that I smoke, is not only hurting me, it's hurting a lot of people around me. And if something happens to me, more than 1,200 people who work for me and about 20 family members who are dependent on me, everybody gets affected, right? So this is why when we have to break patterns, we have two options. One is the fear factor, to use the fear factor or some kind of punishment, which we receive usually in the form of illness, who smoke a lot. So please, ladies and gentlemen, who is watching, don't smoke. It's bad and injurious to your health. And the second thing is love and compassion. I have realized in my humble, 20 years of professional life and 40 years of being on this planet, that as far as I'm concerned, love and compassion has always worked. If the correction centers can really correct people and all that happens in the correction centers doesn't happen, I think we're going to have a great world out there. But I think love and compassion, be it spiritual masters, yogi teachers, imams, people, priests, pastors, I think they use this one beautiful thing, which is love and compassion in its true essence. And if we use that, we can really convert our mistakes into power. But what we need to realize is that once somebody does a mistake, our first job is to make them realize it was a mistake. The second job is to make them understand what were the factors that they need to consider. The third thing is to make sure nobody repeats this or doesn't become a pattern. And the fourth thing is that we need to put certain, instruments and systems in place which can ensure that the probability of success of ourselves and other people is higher. The more we help each other, the more we help improve each other, the more we share the knowledge, we're actually going to position humanity to the next level. And that is what our generations has to be thankful for. And this is how humanity has evolved. So that's all I really need to add. But yes, make a mistake, make something which affects you, but not others. If it affects others, be the first one to apologize. And that mistake would be your power, the power to kill your ego, the power to forgive, the power to forget, the power to be compassionate, and the power to love selflessly.
Okay.
I agree. The one thing that I would say is there's a reaction that people who don't make mistakes but look at somebody who makes a mistake is, and part of the fear we have when we make a mistake is that those people are judging us, and we need to take the power of others' judgment away so that we can look at things objectively and, how's this moving me forward versus, oh my God, I just made a mistake and I'm so embarrassed. There's nothing like that feeling. I used to play guitar in front of a very large church when I was a kid, and I was still learning to play the guitar, but I felt like I'm up in a spotlight. I have an audience of 800 people. I'm going to open my mouth and sing, but I'm playing guitar and I've got 30 kids behind me. And then I go strum it and I hit the wrong chord. Not knowingly, but I'm still relatively new, but I remember going, and everybody knew I made a mistake. And somebody who was in a rock band came up to me later and he goes, you know, when you do that, don't worry. Nobody else would have known except that you flinched. So when I took away everybody else's judgment, then I was much more open to trying new chords and new songs and new things with my choir. And we did stretch quite a bit. And then that person ended up being a guitar player with me because I asked him to come and help. And then we became competitors on who could do the most fancy thing with the guitar, you know? And that seemingly momentary mistake ended up pushing us a lot further. So we were able to do some really good work with the folk choir. But he taught me how to not worry about what others were saying and just move forward with that art. And that's what when I'm in awe, I'm looking at artists and I'm in awe that they actually make mistakes on purpose because it's in the best interest of their art to experiment, to try something new and to stretch. So, you know, I'm pretty sure when Salvador Dali started to do his abstracts, he wasn't actually meaning to do it quite the way he did, but it worked. You know, there was a story yesterday, I think, a security guard is in a museum. There's this $1 million painting. It's called Three Faces, and it's three figures with no face. And he got bored, so he used a ballpoint pen and he drew eyes on them. So he's ruined this multi-million-dollar painting. But actually, it looked okay, you know. So what's the artist going to do? You know, the insurance is going to cover the cost of the painting, apparently, but you know, the guy got bored and he wanted to see eyes. What, you know, so it was really interesting. Was that a mistake? That's my judgment, probably not his. Mirza, you're smiling like you're going to say something.
I totally agree with you and Brother Shafaat, and thank you, Carla, and to you for creating such a thought-provoking topic and getting our creative juices out. And I agree with what Brother Shafaat was saying, and of course you. Mistakes are the stepping stone for us to achieve what we want to achieve, right? Especially since I come from tech entrepreneurial fraternity, and we see our mistakes as R&D, research and development, and so is our path. A scientist does so many R&Ds, research and development, for any invention or innovation to deliver something to this world, in the world of disruptive and exponential technologies, right? It's all about getting everything you can out of everything you got. It's all about you being resourceful. Through mistakes, you turn your mess into a message, turn your garbage into gold, turn your trash into cash, turn your pain into purpose, turn your traumas into failures and traumas into triumphs, failures into victories. So that's the name of the game, you know. So it's at the end of the day, we all want to achieve that objective. And when there's a vision and mission that is larger than us, and there's no stopping to us. We are in a flow state. Once you achieve that flow state, trust me, you are logically there, mind-wise. You're emotionally there. Your heart is in tune, just like how Brother Shafaat was saying. Your intention is right, because your inner intention, inner reality will manifest into external reality and intention, right? So logically there, emotionally there, heart-wise, and then you're physically there. You have to take massive, offensive, resourceful, committed, imperfect, inspired, fast, decisive, measurable actions to get to that result. And results are the fruits. And if there's a problem with the fruit, you go back to the root. A root is the same thing. However, there's a third level, which is the transcendence level. That is when you spiritually align. That is a game changer. Then you see those mistakes as embrace those mistakes, and you know that you're doing something fruitful for the mankind. And that's the core foundation of every major innovation and invention. This world used to be very local and linear. Now the same world is global and exponential, where we are like coming up with so much products and services and online offline space. And from the digital, we got digitized and disruptive industries and sectors and processes and procedures, and everything is dematerialized, demonetized, and democratized. Had there been no mistakes, since from the time of Wright brothers, we wouldn't have been traveling. This world wouldn't have been this global village. Like how the example that you gave, 20 years ago, if somebody would ask you that there's a box that would give us real-time conversation across the globe, nobody would believe it. But so whatever mind can visualize, it can materialize through going through so much pain and grind and taking mistakes and overcoming and becoming. Those are my few humble sense. Thank you.
And in making mistakes, I mean, when we started MindPlore, it's a lot different than what it is now. And it has grown tremendously in over 2 years. And I made mistakes. I made mistakes with panelists. I've made mistakes all over the place. But when we make a mistake, if we take it, oh, I made a mistake and no one's going to listen to me ever again, or someone's going to get mad and just leave the show in the middle of the show because of something I said, it's not helping anyone. Just recognizing you did something dumb. I'm doing that right now, and move forward. Go along with the mistake, because the mistake, please, I'm going.
Okay.
The mistake is only a moment in time.
Okay, first, I always honor that you are humble. You are very humble and self-effacing, Carla. Second, Mirza, when you started talking, it reminded me of one of the jokes that kind of make up my philosophy of life. And that is, do you know how to make God laugh? You tell him your plans. Because God always will say, oh, baby, I see it on such a higher level. You have no idea. And that's where mistakes come in. When we make the right mistakes, and it's a judgment call. Is it a wrong mistake? Is it a right mistake? Was it thoughtful and you tried something versus just, you're not in your body and you just kind of flubbed. We all make the flub mistakes because we're human. And, a guiding principle of humanity is to err is human. We make mistakes. But if you're thoughtfully working on something, say you're an innovative engineer looking for the next big thing, or you're a scientist and you're searching for the next, saving grace in the pharmaceutical area. When you thoughtfully try something and it doesn't work, is that a mistake? No, it's another way that it doesn't work. So you move forward. But the reason that I got into coaching is because I get to see people at a different level. I can't see myself in 365 as a whole. I see myself through my eyes and through what I hear. And then my mind keeps it in a certain frame. But others can see beyond what I see and say, you're doing such great work, or you need to do this, or have you thought about that? And that helps me pick up. Now, is it a mistake if I don't listen to them? That's going to be a judgment call. Is it a good thing to let somebody help me see beyond my limitations? I think that's always a good thing. And that's one of the things that we miss in the society that I think having this kind of global discussion helps, is we used to get that from our elders and our family when we were more literally in tribes. Now we need to get that from our friends and our colleagues. So we need to see each other for the good that we are and help us each other grow. Ali, you've got your, Mirza, you have your hand up. So I'm going to say, hey, Mirza, what's up?
Just wanted to comment. You spoke so beautifully and eloquently. And, it goes back to what Einstein says, that a mind cannot solve the problem at the same level of thinking that has created the problem, right? So vision is your ability to see beyond the wall, right? So what others were able to see in you, sometimes we are not able to see in us, right? It just like goes back to first principle thinking, which is the grassroots level thinking of any invention and innovation, the one that Elon Musk basically, preaches. But at the same time, there's a zoom in and zoom out thinking and seeing the situation from a bird's eye view, from that angle. Now, when you're watching, it goes back to, like, I was having a conversation, and it's kind of related to this thing that the problem is not the problem. Our response to the problem is always the problem. When we change the way we look at the things that we look at, they change. It's all about perception of situation, perception of reality. It's how you see failures and mistakes, and how you course correct and overcome and become with the new beliefs, by taking massive actions. And then you have a new reality. Then you listen to the feedback, and then you course correct. Now you have a new belief override, and it goes compound, and that's the delineation between somebody who's delivering and versus somebody who's like on the wrong track in life. Again, both are mistakes. I'm not saying like one is right or wrong, but it's just like what we think is what we become at the end of the day, and how we think controls everything. Because 9 out of 10 of everything is in your head, and you believe in your attitude, and your attitude will determine your life altitude towards like. And I also always ask myself all those mistakes. There's one question that I ask myself, and I'm going to share: is it making my boat go fast, or is it making my boat go slow? Well, I think it's going to make my boat go fast, my life's boat, right? So is it giving me the plateau, the very next level, the future impossible version of me that is required to achieve those plateaus and goals and everything? So am I achieving those? So if that's what's happening through these mistakes and overcoming and becoming, through these failures, again, fail, FAIL, first attempt in learning, and repetition is the mother of learning. And fear is facing everything and rise above the problem. Once you become bigger than the problem, then the problem becomes smaller than you. And the top of every mountain is the bottom of others. So life is all about journey. It's not a destination. But beautifully said. I mean, can't disagree with you. Agree with you more, so to speak.
Thank you. Shafaat, I see you gesturing.
Yeah, I mean, what Mirza said is just so phenomenal, and all that you shared and Carla shared is just so brilliant. I love Mirza because the way he puts things and turns stuff into acronyms, and he just made a mistake, right? If you look at it, I disagree with you, and I agree with you. I personally think this is really what I want to add here is there's not a single living creature on this earth who deliberately does anything wrong. So if everybody in their own thinking is always correct, their thoughts, their processes, their actions, every single person in their own realm is always correct. I mean, I won't just go and deliberately do something to say that, I have to do it because I want to do wrong. Even the people who will commit a crime, when they're committing it, they don't consider that it is wrong. They consider it as their right. The worst of them have probably taken the best of them. So we need to realize again that majority of the times, the mistakes is essentially on the packaging, which means communications. Our manners, etiquettes, value systems, cultural, acceptance and all the rest of it, and belief systems. So majority of the mistakes actually lie over there, which we call everyday mistakes, all right? And we need to remember that a lot of people are consuming what we are talking at MindPlore. And similarly, we are also consuming a lot of stuff through media, through our environment, through our universe, and all of them shapes us. So whatever we do, the way we react or the way we respond to any stimulus, we need to realize that there is a process, a very fast, quick process of who we are, and genetics also has a role to play. I mean, my 10 years old is way faster in computing than I was when I was 10. So there is genetic learnings. There are things that we don't do anymore, but our genetics, they keep pushing it forward. So I think we're going through this amazing, beautiful, transformational stage and the way we manifest, the only one thing that we need to be cautious of and raise our guards is just few little things. Keep your heart clean and empathy. If we build an empathetic culture, we'll actually realize that a lot of people that we push down and we roll over, those, because we say that you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, and using the word no, 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 and that in turn making people turning around doing two things: blames and complaints and excuses. We are actually pushing a lot of people further away from success. We're actually pushing them back down. And one day or the other, we see them as springing up in revolutions, in revolts, in rebels, and so much more that we see in the world. So what we really need to build in is empathy. And the last thing that I want to add is that, ladies and gentlemen, happiness consists in not having many things, but in needing few. And excellence, similarly, is not making a lot of things correct, but simply calibrating few. And that's about it.
Well said. Go ahead, Carla.
Thank you. And talking about mistakes, we are told all through school, you made a mistake, you cannot do this, or you can't do this for whatever reason. And because we have heard this all our lives, we fear mistakes. Instead of saying, okay, you came really close, I see a problem in your multiplication. Can you go back to your multiplication chart and fix this thing? And once it's fixed, the mistake is taken away. So instead of looking at it as, oh no, I failed the test, look at it as, okay, I didn't know this, learn it, and go in for the next trial. We're not, we all forget. We all make mistakes, and it's perfectly, perfectly fine. As long as you realize that you can turn it around. And once you realize you can turn it around, believe it or not, you're not running from the mistake. You are moving towards the mistake because it will help you do what you need to do. Mirza, thank you for the clap. Do you want to, and the thumbs up from Shafaat? Who wants to speak?
Well, one of the reasons we thought of this particular theme is we had an educational expert on a talk earlier this weekend, and she was talking about the difference between her philosophy, and she teaches in a high school, and others' philosophy. And she allows her students to try things and to make those mistakes, and then works with each of them when they make a mistake to learn from it. And the success that she's had in her program has been astronomical. The kids actually really enjoy that. And that got us thinking, because in many cases, especially when you're raising children, we're telling them no because we're setting boundaries, but we forget to explain in their terms why we're doing this. And, when I was raising my son, I used to say things like, okay, running in the street is not good. You're going to get hurt, but I don't want you to do that, and he, of course, is a boy and did not want to listen to his mother. He kept trying to run into the street. And then, a friend of mine caught him by the arms, caught his arm, grabbed him in and swatted him on the butt. And I was a little bit taken aback that my friend did that. But he turned to me and goes, he needs to be shocked into hearing you. And so just that little swat, on the little 6-year-old's butt wasn't going to hurt him, but it did shake him up a little bit. So I learned a lesson that sometimes we have to make sure that people are listening when we try to teach them the lesson, but, not just go, no, 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 because they don't get it. So I used to have to think about what it's kind of a code decode sort of thing if you put it into technical terms. What can they take in and how do they interpret it? So actually later on in his growth, I learned that he really liked his PlayStation and he wasn't going to listen to me about something. So the PlayStation went into timeout for a day or two. He understood that, especially when the time came and he wanted to play his game. And I was like, well, it's not available until tomorrow. You know, so I found something that he valued so he could understand and I could set the boundary. And that's the mistake, if we call it, is that parents have is often not getting them to understand why we're doing that. So I actually was able to get him to understand that timeout meant time for him to collect himself, to calm himself down, to reset. And, you know, that reflected, you know, when a 6-year-old was sitting on top of a slide and the lady that was babysitting him that day said, he wouldn't come off the slide. He wouldn't come off the slide. So I said, Chris, why were you at the top of the slide? Why is it that you wouldn't come down? And he said, you know, one of the other boys hit him. So he put himself in timeout so that he didn't hit him back. I called that a win. He learned how to be self-aware for the moment and not do the wrong thing. And so when we allow our kids to learn that, you know, now I look at him, he's a strapping young man with 2 children, and I look at him as he's raising his kids and I see some of those words reflected and I go, oh, that's how we change the world. You know, we change how we act in the world. Yeah, his kids are learning lessons the kind of the same way. And I remind him of some of them, you know, when he looks at me with that kind of charming, joking face and he goes, well, I never did that. And I'm going, have I got stories for you? You know, because moms always remind you. But here's the thing, we all learn, and we learn to spread, to stretch those boundaries just a little bit. And that's how we progress.
You know, there's one thing I would like to add, Jeanne, to your point. You mentioned about playing guitars a while ago, and I always had a problem playing the C chord on a bar because you have to press this finger, right? The ring finger, and press it really hard to play the last 3 things. I couldn't do it, you know, and people used to make fun of me. And you're absolutely right when you talk about improvisation, not really putting it out there. There was an interview I had on a mainstream international media channel, and somebody asked me, Shafaat, you're sitting at the apex of success in terms of running an investment company, running your agency, so on and so forth, whatever we do. Oh, and I was like, hey, I'm not standing at the apex of success. I'm actually standing on what you see as a peak of failures. I have failed and made so many blunders in my life that every time I'll rise above it, and I'm standing on a mountain at the top of the mountain of failures. The only difference between me and a lot of others is that I somehow survived every single failure and got on top of it instead of getting myself buried under it. Had I been buried, I would not have been on the top. So that's one thing. The second thing is you said something very profound about, as we're talking about the power of mistakes, you talk about, okay, you know, we are probably one of the only firms, at least in the region where I operate in Dubai, we have a non-firing policy. We do not fire people. And I'm 20 years in business. I haven't fired a single person. Why? Simple reason. If somebody's not performing in my firm, it's not only their fault, it is the fault of my hiring manager, it's the fault of me as leadership, it's the fault of our culture, it's the fault of our value system that one person that we hired is not performing. So why is it that only one person would suffer, that we kick him out, and he goes back to getting financially bankrupt and leaving a job and joining us? Why is that the only person suffering? Why isn't me suffering? Why isn't my company suffering? Why is my hiring manager or line manager not suffering for hiring the wrong person? And this is how mistakes become a power, because now I have such a stringent hiring policy and process and system, because we know if we make a wrong hiring, that guy ain't going anywhere, right? He's our responsibility. His family or her family is our responsibility. And we have such a family culture that we've built. So I think that when we realize and we go deeper into what mistakes are about, essentially it's just within our thinking, our processes, and it really comes from a word known as sensitivity. If you're an insensitive person, you'll be hurting a lot of people, and you can carry on doing the mistakes, and those mistakes would never be a source of power to you. But if you have a sensitive heart, which is empathetic, which feels what other feels, and instead of us talking about what we need to talk, the moment we say what others love to listen, and instead of us judging people on their words and what they say, and if we realize why they're saying what they're saying, a lot of noise on communications will go away, and a lot of things that we consider as mistakes will never be considered as mistakes. I think we will end up joining a lot of hearts instead of breaking them on a regular basis.
And I agree with you, but mistakes are mistakes. It's the moment. And once that moment passes, it's gone. And it doesn't matter what you said in the past, because it's gone once you recognize it. And we also have the thing is, I made the mistake. Will Shafaat talk to me in 2 minutes? He obviously is. But the whole point is, we worry about things that we can't change, that we don't even know will happen. And we regret things that we did 2 minutes ago that we can't change. We only have this one moment. So make the mistake, do what you want to do. But remember, when you're doing it, and I think this is true for anyone, is we do an activity out of love for another person. It may not seem like that at times, but we're doing it. The bank robber may go and rob a bank because he wants his wife to have food on the table for the kids. I'm not saying bank robbers shouldn't be punished. Please don't get me wrong. But the point is, people do things out of love and then think later, why the heck did I do that? It was the biggest mistake of my life. So, okay, so you learn, you don't go to that bank again and steal the money. You just put money out and in and take the money out that you have. But it's all done from that one thing that underlies everything we want in life, which is love. We're going to make mistakes. So what? It's done. Let's move on. You're nodding, Mirza? And I got a thumbs up from Shafaat. Yay.
Carla, you spoke so beautifully. The biggest mistake a mankind or man can make is not making one, basically, and be fear of making one, because we don't learn from our success, trust me. At least that's not the case with me. We all learn from our failures, And in the earlier part of the conversation, I said, I always tell to my team, if we want to grow as a team, teamwork makes a dream work. We need to make mistakes and embrace the mistakes. You have to constantly rewire, reframe, recondition, reperceive, reparadigm shift, repatterns by looking at the mistakes. When you change the way you look at the things that you look at, they change. They give you different meaning and perception, and the way you see the mistakes is just like they are the fundamental foundation for us to try not to do something. Like I said, you need to double the rate of failure. Just goes back to the earlier part of the show when she was mentioning Einstein, like made, and obviously your intention has a role to play. And once we all have this growth mindset, not the fixed mindset says I'm not going to change, but change is the only disruptor in this planet, in this universe. Because if we are not changing, if you are not growing, if you are not expanding, we are all dying, right? We need to change to be the best version of ourselves, to live our life to the fullest human possible potential, to be all we can be, maximize our potential. And that only happens by embracing the failure, by reconditioning, rewiring your brain, how we look at the mistakes. Just like how she was sharing the story of her son, right? Just like how you were bringing those noodles and nuggets, and Brother Shafaat was bringing the meat and potatoes, like how you make it use as a fuel for you to propel forward in your life, right? With a growth and abundance mindset, with a grit and stamina. That is the only missing ingredients. It would outshine, outsmart, outlie your skills and capabilities and expertise if somebody is ruthlessly focused and is not giving up on the vision and mission. And that is the name of the game. So thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. That was such a thought-provoking conversation from you, Carla, and Brother Shafaat, and Jeanne spoke so much value, and I learned a lot from you guys. I'm so honored and humbled to be among such a thought leader crowd, and look forward to add more value in the future. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you, Mirza. And you kind of gave me the segue to begin ending the show. Thank you. I was trying to decide, should we go a few more minutes or what should we do? I want to thank you guys for being here. It's been a wonderful conversation. And what I'd like to do is go around and everyone just give 1 minute, please. I will hold up my phone to warn you. But let's kind of end it up with some your own quick thoughts about the importance of mistakes. And let's start with Shafaat.
Well, first of all, truly privileged, Carla, once again, to be on MindPlore. Journey of 2 years, to be on it by MindPlore and Friends, to be on the panel. So all I need to say is, it wasn't a mistake, giving back. So to support you and to be with you, and, for everybody out there, it's okay. Go out, apologize, rectify, learn from it, do it better next time. Do not repeat your mistake, try a new one, and try to focus on success than mistakes. Mistakes is a negative word. Put it in as a lesson or a learning and keep moving. That's all I have to say. So thank you.
Very well said, Mirza. Usually it's girls first. We're doing boys first.
No, I mean, like, I'll hand it off to ladies. Out of respect.
No, Mirza, please. Don't argue with me now.
Goes back to the earlier points, like I'm going to piggyback off those points that mistakes are inevitable. Failures are part of the game. Failure is just a data point. Look at the failure. It's just a data point. It's nothing more than that. It's essential for you to propel. The problem happens when we give up so soon. We stay in something called comfort zone. And comfort zone is a dream killer. The procrastination is a dream killer. You need to be comfortable with uncomfortable. Pain is there for a reason. Pain is a good thing. Pain is your friend. Pain teaches you. It's paying attention in now and overcoming and becoming. And I always say yesterday was current is working, becoming past. So yesterday was history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Be in a moment, own the moment, seize the moment. The one who's able to control his past mistakes, he's able to control his present. And then one who's able to live in the present, he's able to build and predict the future. So always be in a moment, own the moment, seize the failure and the data point, and move on and course correct over and over. It's not over until it's done. And life is all about journey. It's not a destination. Top of every mountain is the bottom of others. At every level in life, at every level there's a different devil, and there's no devil outside. It's you competing against yourself to be better today than you were yesterday with a growth and abundance mindset, by overcoming so many obstacles, challenges. Challenges are the gifts and problems are the gold mine, and overcoming and becoming from cocoon to butterfly. Thank you for having me. Love
You
it.
know, just quickly, and I'll let Jeanne speak. One of the things that all the philosophers, all the saints say, you need to act in order to live life. And if you're afraid to act, you're not living life. And that's what we've been saying throughout this hour. Jeanne?
I think this hour's kind of illustrated when I've brought up several times in these discussions, between the stimulus and the response. That's when you get to pick heaven or hell. And it's the same when you have that mistake. How you react and address it really helps you decide if you're going to grow or you're going to stifle. And, I prefer to grow. So I want to thank you guys for giving me more insight into the mistakes I have made in my past that have made me the woman I am today. Thank you.
And I want to thank everyone for making mistakes, because if we didn't make mistakes, MindPlore wouldn't be here. I did it. In fact, when we decided about doing it, I said, okay, we're going to do it for the first time tomorrow. I did it that way because I knew I would just back out otherwise. So that's how MindPlore got.
I would like to add 1 cent. Before everything in this world was a mainstream, it was a crazy idea, right? The world that we live in now, whatever used to be science fiction is now a scientific fact. So that actually tells you how important mistakes are. So thank you.
And everyone, your comment about pain, and I need to say that. I was talking to a friend who gets migraines, and I said, I hate it when I see you in pain. And the person came back and said to me, it makes me grow. It's important. So the pain is a good thing. Jeanne, did you want to say something else before I actually close? Because
Yes,
now I am totally spaced out.
Two things. One, if you're watching this on YouTube, please take a minute to subscribe to our channel. And if you feel like it, participate in the chat, and please share this out. We're trying to grow our audience. And it helps us with the YouTube algorithm if we get interaction. The second is Carla has started a Patreon page to support the programs, both Learning English by Speaking English and MindPlore. And it's at patriot.com, and it's Giggle Lady. And she has a raffle going on for anybody who donates $5 or more a month. Their name gets put into the raffle, and the prize is a half-hour consultation online with Carla, which is a very valuable time, especially if you're looking to improve how you speak in English, because she's an expert at helping people really, really grow in their English language proficiency.
And the reason you want to improve your English language proficiency is so you can bring your business to business better. The more you speak in English, the more you give that skill a workout and use the muscle, the more you're going to be able to use it for your clients, and the more you're going to earn. So it's actually an opportunity for your business to grow completely. And I think, unless the boys have something, a minute, really a minute, when you see this, I'll stop you if you go over. A minute comment, you can do that now. Mirza, you looked like you wanted to say something.
No, I just wanted to say like less than a minute. I totally echo what Jean was saying. Carla is one of the most by far giving person that I've seen giving on this Facebook platform from such a long time. She has trained so many people from rural areas of Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, across the globe, and raising the welfare of the mankind for the better. Um, bringing them like to speak from third world country to first world country and doing businesses in different arena. So please follow Carla. Whatever Carla comes up with, just fight for it because she's going to take your skills and capabilities and expertise, your competencies, your potential to the next level. Follow her and be part of her platform called Patreon and be part of that membership site. And I'm gonna be part of that as well. Thank you, Carla. Over to you.
Thank you.
Endorsement.
Shafaat, you get a minute.
I just want to thank you, and that's pretty much about it. I actually have another meeting to attend, so I'm receiving a couple of calls. But such a pleasure, such an honor to be here. Looking forward, and ladies and gentlemen, just continue supporting MindPlore with Carla. It's one of the most beautiful shows out there. And by the way, do listen to Jane's advice to subscribe and share. You know, it usually works. Whatever you give, you get back, and it won't be a mistake if you do share. So with that,
we can wave goodbye. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Jeanne and Mirza, for being a part of this today. And did I say Shafaat? If I forgot, I'm so sorry. Mistakes happen. I meant to add you in. And let's wave goodbye. And you guys don't leave until we're actually off, please.